of Water. I am playing a piece by Cécile Chaminade, who was born in 1861 in Paris. And I learned this several years back in honor of one of my friends, Cindy Cuney, who's a great lover of ocean swimming. And this is Lundin, the water sprite.
Was it Barbara? Thank you so much. beautiful as usual. You contribute so much. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. We are what is known as a liberal religious community, and what that really means is that we follow our perceived reality. We don't go by any sort of written dogma or creed. Mostly it's based on taking care of each other and taking care of our planet in the best way we know how, honoring the diversity of life and bringing love and order to the world. We want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Kumeyaay Nation. For at least 10,000 years before colonizers came, the Kumeyaay lived in harmony with this land. Despite genocide and domination, they live here still. We have thrived on their land. We want to be mindful of how we can honor the land and the Kumeyaay people so that we all may continue to thrive here. We have an announcement this morning, or we actually have a few announcements this morning. But first is the virus may be keeping us home, but it cannot keep us from having our annual auction. So our auction will have to be online, but it will be Saturday and Sunday, November 14th and 15th. And the theme this year is Passport to Adventure. And boy, I guess we could all use some adventure right now. For the past 6 months, we've been limited, cooped up to where we could go, who we could be with. So if you could be somewhere else, where would you go on your adventure? Around 7:30 last night, an email was sent out with the details and with some ideas for possible events and activities that you could contribute. So check that email, please, for links to the sign-up forms. Auction donations will have to be sent in by October 1st, which is only a little bit away, like a few weeks. So get on it right now. Thank you, and help support this community with our online auction this year. And I'd like to go to Mary, who has some RE announcements for us.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? All right, good. I am in the sanctuary. Isn't this exciting? So today we're going to be testing out the audio-visual system that Colin Vale installed at Summit as part of his Eagle Scout project. So there may be a few glitches. Please bear with us. We're doing our darndest to see if we can get this working. And next Sunday, our RE classes will begin. Check your email if you're a family with kiddos or if you're interested in volunteering. I've sent out several emails with information on how to register and little videos on what's going to be going on. And any RE families, I invite you to come by for the water communion this afternoon and pick up a packet of goodies for your kiddos so that they can have stuff at home. This goes for youth as well. So yeah, thank you.
And I have one announcement as well, another save the date. When a new minister begins to serve a congregation, the local staff from the Unitarian Universalist Association provide support in many ways. And on Sunday, September 27th, from 1 to 4 p.m., the Reverend Sarah Gibb Millspaugh will lead a ministerial startup workshop for Summit right here on Zoom. Everyone in the fellowship is welcome to participate. We will talk about Summit's history and we'll discuss goals and expectations for my time with you here. Once again, that will be Sunday, September 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. More information will be sent out in the newsletter. And now we turn back to Mary.
Sound check, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, look at this, we have our chalice. We're going to do our chalice lighting. Please join me by lighting a chalice at home if you have one, knowing that we're also lighting the one in our sanctuary hall for the first time in 6 months. So this is really exciting. all that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create, a deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a greater generosity of spirit, and a deeper joy in this life we share. That reading comes to us from the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. Our chalice is lit. Now, please join me in saying the words of our UU aspiration. They should be in the chat. May love be the spirit of this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. And now Barbara will lead us in the hymn.
We're hoping to get a
Sorry,
video.
I'm here. It just took me a minute to figure out where I was. So yes, I have a video to share with you for Time for All Ages, and it is science-y. So if you enjoy science and stuff, enjoy. I did this in advance at home because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to become, well, you'll see. So let's enjoy the video. Whoops, wrong share. Sorry about that. There we go.
Hi, I have a science experiment for you today. So today we're talking about water. It's our Water Communion Sunday, which is a time when we celebrate our gathering by mixing water together. Now, we can't be together in person at this moment, so I thought I'd do a little science experiment for a story today. So if you're into science, check this out. So I have a vessel here with some water in it, and this is warm water from my tap, and it is water, or H2O, in liquid form. Water is in liquid form. So did you know water can also be in solid form? What would solid water look like? Well, it would look like this. Ice. Ice. Solid water is ice. You can see it's dripping going from solid to liquid in my hand. It's just sitting here under these warm lights. So solid water is ice. Now, water has three forms. Ice is solid. This is liquid. What do you think the other form is? It is the gas form of water, or vapor, water vapor. And I want to see if we can get some water vapor in here and make a cloud. So for this science experiment, the vapor is actually there right now, but we can't see it so well. And what we do is we're going to use some hairspray, and we're going to spray a little hairspray in there, and the particles of hairspray, the water vapor will stick to it, and we'll get to see the cloud get formed. So we have our ice, we have our liquid. Let's put the hairspray in here, cover it. And now that there's a temperature difference going on from this warm water to this cold melting ice. And that temperature change is going to help create this cloud or vapor inside the jar. See how it's getting sort of cloudy? If you look, you can see it's getting a little cloudier and a little cloudier. Let's let it sit for a minute. And you know, water in lakes evaporates into the air, and the vapor comes together and makes, when you get a cloud, that's a lot of water vapor all condensed together up in the sky. I'm sure it's a lot more sciencey than that, but let's keep it simple for today. If you want to research clouds, you can go do that and learn more about them. And when it gets really, really cold, water freezes and we get ice. When I was a kid, I used to like to go ice skating on the lake. And so we have all the forms here. We have the ice, the liquid, and we have the vapor. Let's see if we can see our cloud. I'm going to take this off and we'll see if we can see some vapor go up in the air. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, look at that! Can you see the vapor? Yes. That is our little cloud in a jar that we made. You can try this experiment at home using hot water from your tap in a glass container that is parent approved or adult approved, and some ice in a tray on top, and make your very own vapor cloud in a jar. I hope you enjoyed that science experiment and all the forms of water: liquid, solid, and vapor. So that's our little story and our science fun for our water communion. Hopefully you'll all come by this afternoon and bring some water to share, because we'd love to see you as you drive on by. Bye-bye.
So there you go, a little watery fun, some fun science for everybody. I hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you, Mary. I certainly enjoyed it. Our reading this morning is titled All Water is One Water by Mel Hoover and Rose Eddington. Water unites us. All water is one water, shape-shifting as it goes on in its unending cycle. The stream we gather by unites us with all waters of the world, for all of life depends on water. That is why this common, everyday element on which our very lives depend is sacred. In our thankfulness for water, let us remember to honor, cherish, and care for it, for our own lives, for all life touched by water, and for those who come after us. And it is time for our offering. I often think of water as a support system that buoys us, that runs in all the spaces and gives us strength. And I like to think of the congregation as the same type of thing for this fellowship. We buoy each other. We find the spaces where we can go to help one another, to support one another. Part of that is a financial support of Summit. And as you listen to Barbara's beautiful music, I would urge you to go to the Summit website and make your donation this morning to support our community. Thank you. Barbara?
All right, we have another French composer born only 5 years after Chaminade in 1866. This is Eric Satie, and I want to show you the cover of this set here. Each piece, there were 20 of them, and they're very short, was illustrated by this famous illustrator. And so here's completely, even though it's just 5 minutes, he was only born 5 years later, he's completely different style. This is the beginning of the French avant-garde, and wonderfully quirky Eric Satie. The first one's called The Fish. second one is called Yachting. And this one is on a very stormy day. And the last one is ocean swimming.
Thank you, Barbara. Our service today is themed around water in all of its forms, but for many of us, what is on our minds today is fire. The evacuations from the Valley Fire, the anxiety of living so near its path. These have affected many people in San Diego, and the news brings back memories of earlier fires. On a larger scale, there are fires rampant throughout the West Coast, from San Diego up into Canada. Millions of people are living with air quality that is not just unhealthy, but is actually hazardous. And the scope of the fires reminds us of the climate change that is making it all possible. These are big problems which we all have to face. And each of us may have other worries, other concerns that we are carrying with us, carrying in our hearts. So let us stop for a moment now to acknowledge the reality of our troubles and the reality of the difficult work ahead. Let us acknowledge our troubles and that work, but for this hour, just for this hour, let us set those cares down if we can. Please sit comfortably and pause for a moment. Let us slow down. If you are comfortable doing so, you may shut your eyes or just focus softly in the distance. And breathe with me. A long, slow inhale through the nose. A brief pause and a slow exhale through the mouth. Once again, inhaling through the nose, briefly pausing, and exhaling slowly through the mouth. One more time. Now, let your breath flow naturally, and we will pause for 1 minute in silence. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, may all those here who are troubled find solace. May all those here who feel powerless find strength. And may all of us feel the supporting love of our community throughout this day, throughout our lives. Amen. Blessed be. And if we could have the first video of ice, please. Thank you. The snow glows white on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. A kingdom of isolation, and it looks like I'm the queen. If you think of someone who seems unfriendly, or who you feel doesn't radiate the warmth of human kindness, you might describe them as icy, or cold, or brittle. But does icy always need to be connected to heartlessness? The lyrics that I quoted just now come from the song Let It Go from the Disney movie Frozen. And one of the great things about Frozen is that it complicates the idea of what it means to be icy. In the movie, our hero Elsa has magical powers that allow her to control ice and coldness. But her parents, her whole society, no one understands her, and her parents want her to hide her abilities because they are afraid of what people will think if they find out that she has them. And, in fact, after Elsa unintentionally reveals her powers, she is chased from town, and she runs off to live alone in an ice castle. The song's phrase, "a kingdom of isolation," captures this connection between the physical coldness and emotional withdrawal. But, in the end, spoiler alert, Elsa's love for her sister Anna is what saves the day. Initially, even Elsa herself believed that because her strength lies in her power over cold, she must be cold-hearted too. But the movie shows that her strength also lies in her humanity, in her love. Now, scientifically, heat is a measurement of how much energy, how much movement there is in the molecules making up a substance. When heat is removed from water, the molecules slow down, and the relationship between nearby molecules changes. Instead of flowing easily past one another, the molecules of water line up. they form an orderly crystal that gains strength from its regularity. The molecules of water literally slow down to make ice. What happens when we slow down? Is there any way that we also can gain strength? Now, thinking about ice and cold and slowing down makes me think of hibernation. I'm thinking of the polar bear in its den. I'm thinking of her strength. And I'm thinking of times when I had to withdraw for a while in order to find the strength to face something. Sometimes ice is what we need to be. We slow down. We retreat. We do not flow past countless other water molecules, but instead we rely on the connections we have to our closest neighbors. We rely on those connections and those neighbors to support us as we support them. Sometimes, for a season, we need to be like ice. May we have the next video, please?
Beautiful, huh? So you may have heard the expression, it's a dry heat. Whoops, sorry. Is that better? Trying to mute some sound there. All right, so you may have heard the expression, it's a dry heat. And we say it out west because we have a lower amount of water vapor in the air out here, most of the year. So when my children were much younger, we took an airplane trip to visit the family in Maine. And I remember flying through the clouds and noticing the beauty of that puffy wonderland up high. And we talked about how that was water in the sky. When we landed in Boston, the pilot came on the PA and announced that it was 85 degrees. Not bad by San Diego standards, right? Well, when we walked off the plane onto that ramp, you know, when you get out of the plane, the kids all stopped and they gasped, "Oh, what is wrong with the air? It's wet. How can air be wet?" they exclaimed. That, I said, would be humidity. It was one of those typical Boston summer days when, with high humidity that makes you feel like you're dripping wet from the sticky, damp air, just like the vapor in the experiment that I did earlier, you could not see the water in the air. Remember, I had used hairspray so we could see it? So you couldn't see the water molecules in the air, though they certainly were felt on the skin. Now, when water molecules are in the form of vapor, they are scattered apart, unlike the solid form of ice. They are diffuse in the air, and we can sometimes feel them when there are many molecules present or high humidity. Water vapor can be present in warm or cold air. Water even evaporates from ice in the cold Arctic temperatures to form vapor. You can see this in your freezer when the ice cubes in the tray mysteriously shrink.
That's evaporation. Those molecules are transforming from solid to vapor in the freezer. It kind of feels like when we are in a vaporous state right now, doesn't it? We are separated from each other. Some of us are with close family members or housemates, and others are alone. There is so much space between us, and it's hard sometimes to feel connected. We are diffuse, separated, and it can feel lonely. We want to connect, to hug, to hold one another, share a cup of tea or coffee. And it's hard to gather as it is to grasp a cloud as we seek to protect each other from an unseen virus that's also in the air. So we are a diffuse community that is grounded in friendship, fellowship, and love. And each year we gather together in this sanctuary to celebrate the start of our liturgical year. This is our annual Ingathering Sunday, the water communion ritual time, right? This Sunday, however, we are like the water molecules in a vaporous state, separated physically, though we are all part of the whole. Now, I live with my 87-year-old mother-in-law, and she asks me how we gather for church each week. And I explain how Zoom works and how we gather screen to screen. This is a hard concept for her to grasp. Where is the place that all that is happening, she asks. And I reply, there is no one place. We are all separate and together at the same time, kind of like vapor. We're in a gaseous state. Each of us is separate molecules on a screen, and we're making this virtual cloud as we gather. We are like a cloud. Clouds are beautiful. My children and I loved watching them out of that airplane window as we flew across the country all those years ago. We wondered how soft it would be to snuggle in the fluffiness, or if you could build a castle as we used our imaginations while peering out the window. Have you ever imagined playing in a cloud or seen images in the wondrous shapes in the sky? On mornings when the coastal marine layer moves inland to Ramona, I can look over the valley filled with misty vapor clouds, and it looks like a magical fairyland, and I feel as if I am on a sacred tour. Some mornings, I get to watch as the sun rises and the mists recede, revealing the real world below. I hold the magical moment of mist and beauty in my heart. Each of us is a part of a beautiful summit cloud. We are a part and a part of this gathering in Zoom, in the cloud, of the internet. And I imagine each of us as a drop of water that gathers as they do in the atmosphere, in a puffy cotton ball in the sky. This is an incredible thing. It is as mystical as the mists over the valley by my home, as wondrous as any fantastic fluffy shape. This is a sacred gathering as we create our own magic of community in this moment. Vapor will condense into tiny droplets. In certain conditions, these tiny droplets cling to each other to form bigger drops as they condense into watery rivulets on the side of a glass. Each rivulet meets the next, becoming bigger and bigger to form a puddle, then a pool, a stream, a lake, even an ocean. We are all like water vapor at this moment. We are in the mists, our wondrous, magical summit cloud, waiting for our moment to gather once again.
And may we have the third video, please?
Standing on these mountains and plains,
Yes, and thank you again to all of those, all of you who were able to send me photos to make that video. Let It Go, the octuple platinum song from the movie Frozen, is not the only song that speaks of letting go. The singer-songwriter Peter Mayer is beloved to many Unitarian Universalists because his sometimes humanist, sometimes deist lyrics speak to the understanding of spirituality that many of us UUs have. We just heard his song, Blue Boat Home, accompanying the photos that many of you sent me last week. But that's not his only song about water. Peter Mayer also wrote a song called God is a River. It's not octuple platinum, but it is very good. It begins, "In the ever-shifting water of the river of this life, I was swimming, seeking comfort. I was wrestling waves to find a boulder I could cling to, a stone to hold me fast, where I might let the fretful water of this river round me pass." The narrator of the song, swept along by the river of life, does find a rock to cling to. He thinks of this rock as his savior, and he thinks that the point of life is to stay out of the flowing stream. But in the song, the rock speaks to him and says, "God is a river, not just a stone. God is a wild, raging rapids and a slow, meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage and a peaceful, sandy shoal. God is the river, swimmer, so let go." The song celebrates the fluidity of life. Life is not fixed. Clinging to things does not bring peace or joy. Life is about change and flow. The fluid state of water represents this medium, this Goldilocks state, not too hot and not too cold. The frozen stasis of ice is good for a retreat. It is good for renewing oneself, for taking time to think, for slowing down, for making connections with your closest neighbors. But it may not be the best way to live one's whole life. On the other hand, the wild frenzy of water vapor, of steam, of being widely separated from your other molecules, that's also good at times. The release of pressure, the catharsis of dance, of rushing past any people you pass by, never stopping or pausing. But that also may not be the best way to live one's whole life. And so we have fluid water, ready to flow new places when the time is right, rubbing shoulders with all the other molecules, but not so energetically that you fly off into the air. Fluid water, gentle and yet with great power. You can't hold back the tide, they say, because its force is irresistible. The power of water is irresistible whether it comes all at once, like the tide, or whether it comes slowly, drop by drop, relentless, unstoppable, eroding stone over centuries. This too is us. We move throughout our day thinking of ourselves as part of different groups. Now, I'm a spouse. Now, I'm a friend. Now, I'm a customer chatting with the clerk. Now, I'm a minister. Now, I'm a driver making way for other people. Now, I'm part of this fellowship. Now, I'm a pedestrian flowing past the others on the sidewalk. Flowing in relationship with others, finding power in all of our different relationships, unstoppable. God is the river, swimmer, so let go. May it be so. And a reminder for this service. If you live near Summit, you are invited to come by our campus between noon and 2 o'clock today for a drive-through water communion. Enter the parking lot from Cottonwood Avenue, and Mary and I will be there to accept your contribution of a small amount of water. We will combine it all together as we are combined together in this community. We will sterilize the water and we will keep it to use throughout the year in rituals as a symbol of our souls joined in community. Our closing words are by Pat Simon. Water, deep source, embracing the earth, rushing, confronting, transforming this shore. Water, dear source, cradling heaven, crystalline beauty, rain on parched land. Water, sweet sources, linking the eons, stirring our memories, roots for our growth. Water, warm cauldron of our revolution, for love of life that brings a sea change. Water, sweet message, nourish our spirit, christen and bless the new air we breathe. Amen. And if you are so moved, please sing along while muted with Laurel and Sandy Bernstein as they play our closing circle song. Afterwards, you are welcome to stay for our community gathering right here.
Are you sure? I thought I was supposed to play. Okay, sing with me, please.